Hi you guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I make this girl relaxing in a bubble bath topper. And I'm using the Cakeheads face and body molds to make this girl. I'm also using Saracino modeling paste, which I really love. I love it when I get it out of the container like this rather than those individual packed kind of samples. For some reason, those are always very dry and hard for me to get back to the state they should be in. But I actually thought I didn't like the modeling paste for a long time because I was just using those samples. But when I got my hands on this actual bucket and cut off a piece here, it's really fabulous stuff to work with. I was so excited and understood what everybody's talking about when they're talking about this modeling paste. So if you are going to get yourself some of this, I don't know if it was just a couple of bad batches I got in those sample packs, but I would, every time I order, I'm going to go for the bucket. Okay, so modeling paste, I'm going to add a little bit of peach, Artisan Accents chocolate color here. It doesn't have to be chocolate, I just happen to have peach, the right color in the chocolate version. And I've got my Cakeheads face mold. Okay, this just makes making figures so much faster and easier, not having to model the face yourself. And then you can use the base of the face and change the expression, which I'm going to show you how to do for this project. Okay, so you want to make sure you got your powdered sugar in your mold like I showed you. And now I'm taking a very large amount of modeling paste here, way more than I need because I'm going to want a handle on this. And I'm rolling it so it's kind of in this log shape, smoothing it out with my hands to make sure there's no cracks so that it slides easily into the mold and pushing down. I know it looks a little strange. We're just going to ignore that right now and move on from there. Okay, so then I'm just ripping off a little bit, but I want to keep a good amount on the back end here because I'm going to use that as a handle. You'll see in a minute. Okay, now I'm taking a little tiny styrofoam ball. That's probably a 1/2 inch styrofoam ball. You can make it a little bit bigger, but it's got to fit in there well. And I'm pushing it so that it's down into the center of that mold. Make sure you've got it in the center. And then you can see I just kind of push back the edges and then pulled it out using the excess material. If you need to watch that again, go back and watch. I actually have a whole video devoted to just using this mold. You can go watch that on the website as well. Okay, so this is the, you can see I'm using that extra as like a little base now to work on my face and keep the back of the head round. And then we'll cut that extra off when it's time, right? Okay, so how do we manipulate this face so that the eyes are closed and she's kind of smiling a relaxed smile? So what you want to do is you want another piece of the modeling paste. So I rolled it into a log shape, cut it in half so I'd have 2 equal pieces. You might need a little trial and error. You want to fill the eye socket so that it's not bulging too much, but it's just a tiny bit over the edge of the eye socket, right? So just like a little bit of a bulge so that we can, looks like there's an eyeball underneath, but not too much that it's crazy. So if you need a little trial and error, redo it, make it a little bit smaller, then go ahead and do that. And then once you've got it filled in there, this is a color shaper, it's size 0, and I use that to kind of roll the edges like you saw me do to blend in the top of the eye there just to start. We'll go back to that in a minute. And now you can see I poked it into the sides of the face like so to kind of create a smile. I'm just kind of poking it into the edge there and just pulling a little bit out and back, and then I'm using my fingers to kind of push up the cheeks a little bit, and that gives a little bit of a relaxed smile that we need for this particular girl in her bubble bath. Okay, so just go rewind if you need to see me do that again. Now you could just leave it like this, but I wanted her eyes to be a little bit squinty to kind of, exaggerate the smile a little bit. That just kind of helps, the smile is in the eyes as well, as they say. So what I'm doing is just kind of pushing up a little bit under that bottom lid and creating a little bit of a swoosh going up and out at the corner of the eye. Like I see in my photo inspiration, which I will also have in the photo section of this tutorial in case you want to use that as your inspiration as well. It's just I want to also paint this. You can see I went up in the middle and then back down and just kind of swooped out the eyelash at the end. And I'll do it here as well on this other eye. And that just kind of gives me that squinty-eyed look, okay? But you don't have to do that. You could just leave it at the stage it was before. Now I'm just going back to the top of the eye and rolling in the seams. I'm going to start with my color shaper here to do that. And then I'm just going to use my finger, the heat of my finger, to blend it so that we just rub out those seams on the top of the eye. And then that looks pretty good to me. Just keep working it till it's all nice and smooth. There's no cracks or anything in there. This is also the pointy color shaper, size 0. Did I mention that? So I'm just using it to kind of redefine the holes in the nose. And then I'm going to use my thumbs and just kind of create a little bit more of a rounded shape because I want her to be a little bit younger. And using my thumbs to create a rounded sort of chin helps with that a little bit. Also this, using my thumb and pushing, kind of getting rid of the bridge of the nose, or at least pushing it in a little bit more so that I've got less of a bridge and more of just like a little pug nose maybe. That also makes the topper seem a little bit younger. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with the face. So now I'm just taking, this is a popsicle stick that I've sharpened the edge on the end of, not too sharp, but enough so that it will poke through my styrofoam. I'm trying to find the styrofoam in the head. That's why we wanted to get it in the middle of the mold so we know where that head will be. I'm pinching off the excess modeling paste so that I've got a nice rounded back of the head. You can smooth that out and smooth out the top again because it got a little smushed from me twisting that popsicle stick. Twist as you push it in, by the way, and that will help it go in more. Don't go all the way through it, but go up and into it so you've got a nice solid base. And now I am I'm just adding a little bit extra here for the neck and using my fingers to kind of push it up into the head to blend that seam under the chin, and also my color shaper there as well. You don't have to do this part because the body mold set we're going to use, K-Cud's body mold set here, also has a little neck. So you'll see me actually cut that neck down later on as we go. And you actually don't have to create it if you don't want it. But sometimes the neck on the mold isn't quite enough for me. And since she's sitting in the bath, I wanted to make sure I had enough of the neck. So I just used the body mold like so. Same deal, powdered sugar in there, pushed my modeling paste in. I didn't need the full thing because she's going to be submerged into a bath, so I only did halfway up. And you can see I just cut off some of the neck I had there, and I'm just kind of smoothing out the top of this body here, the little top piece of the neck, and blending it into that other piece of neck I already had there. And her body is pretty much set for what I need for this project. So now I'm just kind of setting her on a dummy tier here so that she can dry. I've made her at least the day before I'm going to put her in my project so that she can get nice and hard and set on me. And then I just use the arm section of that body mold set, which I show how to use the arms if you're struggling using the arm mold. I show how to do that on my website, and I will link to that down in the post below just in case you need a little bit of help with that. And I bent them just a tiny bit, so and pushed the fingers back so that she'll be holding a bubble in her bath. Okay, now I'm putting her hair. So now I just wet the top of her head where I'm going to stick on more modeling paste. You could use more modeling paste, you could use fondant for this, you could use modeling chocolate, whatever you want to use. Mine's brown. So this is this little piece that I rolled out here into a log shape with a tapered end. This is what I'm going to be doing for basically all of the hair. Just little sections like these. Roll them out, the fat end on the bottom underneath, and then the skinnier end on top, and then push them on, and then I twist the end to get like a little bit of a curl coming up. I was kind of winging this as I went along. I knew I wanted to put like a bandana around her head as well, and this just was the way my brain wanted to go with this. So like the end being the little curls. This was supposed to resemble my daughter for her birthday cake, and she's got curly hair. So these little twists at the end were to kind of create curly bangs for her. And then on the sides, so I start with those big fat pieces on the back, and then once I get to the sides, I want to do some detail pieces. So I create smaller versions of the same sort of piece and twist them just a little bit more, and really get those curls going up at her bangs here. Now I'm just using this sugar shaper which really can use anything, the handle of a paintbrush, just to create a little divot where the bandana is going to be placed later. Okay, so now I've got these teensy little curls I'm adding as even more detail. I will put some on the sides here, and then I will end up making a little bun for her as well. It's the same deal, it's just a thinner little snake of the modeling paste that I just twist with my fingers into a curl. And you can see I just kind of wrap it as I'm twisting, and just make sure it's thin enough in order to do that. And then I'm just using a little bit of water and my little tool there to connect it in kind of a little bun formation at the top of her head. Make sure you leave that little space where you can add your bandana when we're done with this. And then you can use your Dresden tool or whatever pointy tool you have to just kind of create more lines in the back of the hair. You know, you can spend as much time on that as you want, go into as much detail, but that looked pretty good to me. And then I just decided she needed a few more curls on the other side to frame her face. So a little bit of water, little snakes that I twisted and curled and added. And her hair was done. Okay, now just a little bit of water in that little section I created for her bandana. And this is super easy, super quick. I just cut out 2 flat strips. I placed one and then placed the other one over, so it was overlapping but not covering it completely, so it looks like a folded bandana. And then I just used more flat strips and just kind of fashioned them into loops, just folded them over. It was one strip that I folded over twice to create the loops and some water and just pushed in the middle, and that was her little bow. Okay, moving on to the painting. So I'm just using black edible art paint and a little fine detail paintbrush, and I'm just creating a line right at that bottom edge of the lid and swooping it out at the corner and then adding one little extra eyelash, and that creates that line for her eye to define a little bit more. 2 little pieces of hair for the eyebrows that kind of point up just a tiny bit, and I just used the back end of my scalpel there to create some lines in it so they look like eyebrows. Now I have my wafer petal dust set here, and I'm picking out a color for her lips. Then I'm kind of scraping off these wafer petal, they're hard, you kind of have to scrape them to get them to be powder form. I added a little bit of vodka to it, or Everclear or lemon extract, and just created a little bit of a paint, and I'm painting her lips, just her lips. A small area. Don't go overboard with the lipstick because it ends up making her look, you know, a little too old if you had too much lipstick to her. So just right on her lips, and that was good for the rosy lips. And then I also used this light pink shade, and I just again shaved it off and put this little tiny brush that's a little bit fluffy from use, and just kind of brushed it on very gently onto her cheeks. Again, don't go overboard with the blush because she will look like she should be standing on the corner, and we don't want that. And then I am brushing it over top of her eyelids just a tiny bit, just giving her a little color, a little, you know, she's in a hot bath, so we want her flushed a little bit. And she is finished. So my whole project, this whole bubble bath cake, including how to make edible bubbles, which is really, really fun to do. I showed 2 ways to make edible bubbles. Really cool. I had a lot of fun with that. The whole project is on cakeheads.com for members. If you ever decide you want to come over to our Cakeheads family, we'd love to have you over there. Our members have a lot of fun together, learning from each other, and we all just share tips and troubleshoot and stuff like that. And you would get access to the entire bank of tutorials on the website with live demonstrations from cake artists all over the world as well. Come become part of our family if you're thinking about it, because it's really a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.